So in this video, I'd like to explore an additional benefit to dissociation, because lessening the intensity of the feelings and emotions is only really the start. Sometimes it is enough, often the brain gets it, and you then can move on from whatever that experience is. But most of the time, that is only the first step to moving towards fully resolving the negative emotions that we experience. And the second step is absolutely vital. So before I mention what this is, I want to just quickly explore the purposes and functions of negative emotions, because many people are confused by this. They think that negative emotions are just there to piss them off. It's like they've been invaded, like some kind of episode of, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that all of a sudden they have this horrible emotion and they can't get rid of it, and it's completely plaguing them. But actually, negative emotions have a purpose. They have a function. Human beings are functional devices. We don't just do stuff for the sake of doing it. We are purposeful and we do things for some kind of positive intention. And generally, when you look at negative emotions, the purposes of negative emotions are generally to act as warning systems. So if you take, for example, something like fear, fear is there to make us aware of the presence of a threat or a potential threat. Anxiety is the same. If you even take something like depression or sadness, it's there to give us an indication, it's a warning sign that something is not right in our life, that we need to take action, we need to do something. So negative feelings and emotions, they often feel as if we are plagued by some kind of alien force. But when you get down to it, the reality of it is that they are there as warning signs. It's almost like our self-protection system. It's a call for action. So that's the way that we want to treat them. Now, the thing is, as human beings, we are meant to feel bad. I'm sorry to reveal that to you, but we have systems in place to make us feel negative feelings. But we're not necessarily meant to stay in that bad emotional place. So you may be asking, what is the reason for staying in a bad emotional place? Because it happens. Most people at some stage in their life get locked into some kind of negative feeling. Well, generally speaking, when we become locked into some kind of negative emotion, some kind of not so useful feeling, it's because we are engaged or we have stepped into some kind of unuseful learning. So if you refer to a diagram here, say I do apologise for reducing your entire history and future into one single line, but hey, it's useful for the purposes of this illustration. So say that was when you were born and you had some kind of negative experience. This is often locked into place by some kind of internal memory or, from an NLP perspective, an internal representation. Now, generally speaking, if the feeling kind of just stays there, then it's because we've engaged or we've bought into some kind of faulty and incomplete learning, or we haven't learned what we need to learn at all. And actually, by going back and looking at it from a dissociated perspective, we can then start to make changes to that learning. We can re-evaluate it. To give you an example, say you were in the playground as a 10-year-old boy or girl, and all of a sudden the school bully ran up to you with a spider, put the spider down your neck, and you were so unbelievably terrified that in that moment you decided that all spiders were bad. All spiders posed some kind of significant threat. That could be an example of the formation of a phobia. Now that could be relevant, say for example, if you live in Australia. Wow, in Australia they have the scariest spiders on the planet. So to be honest, that learning is actually useful. I wouldn't class that as a faulty learning because spiders are scary. You are under threat in the presence of them. However, if you're in the UK, we don't have poisonous spiders. So that would be an example of a faulty learning, where you've decided based on the drama, based on the emotion, that all spiders are there to kill you or there to poison you or whatever, that all spiders are a threat. So what you're looking to do with this when we bring in the power of dissociation is we're looking to update or reevaluate those initial learnings. So instead of going back and fully associating into it, you go back and you dissociate. Because when we're fully associated with these unpleasant memories, we're so fully engaged in this faulty learning that we can't really think straight. The emotion is just too intense. So by stepping back, by dissociating, or potentially even double dissociating, or even walking further away, perhaps looking at it from a global level, it then allows us to look on and go, interesting. I used to think it meant that, but actually what I was really meant to get here is something else. And it can allow us to update or reevaluate those initial learnings. Because when we look back through older and wiser eyes, and we remove the emotion, we can suddenly see the situation for what it was meant to be. And it's generally when we get some kind of useful learning, something that we can use for the future to benefit us, that's when the negative emotions simply just disappear because they've served their purpose. So this is massively important when it comes to resolving, when it comes to moving beyond your negative feelings and emotions. It's not something you want to try and suppress or something you want to try and fight. It's something you want to take a look at from a dissociated perspective and go, what else was there to learn here? So in the next video, I want to just make sure that this idea is crystal clear inside your mind because it's hugely important. So I want to share with you just a couple of client examples, people who I have worked with who have subscribed to these faulty learnings and caused the emotions to become locked in place. And how we then looked at it from a dissociated perspective so that we could then start to reevaluate the learnings and then move beyond them. So if you want to head over to the next video, and I'll see you for that.